All right. Good morning, everyone. Today we have Trina Malloy, who is part of the transaction coordinator services. I'm going to let her kind of introduce herself and her company, kind of explain some things that she does there. But Trina, one of the things that we like to do just to establish kind of like a baseline for all of our guest speakers is we have 5 questions that we ask every single guest speaker. Given
Ooh.
that you are coming from the transaction coordinator background, but then you also have been very successful as an agent. A lot of these questions, I'm really excited to see what your answers are for them. So, just kind of a way to kind of start the conversation, get everybody involved, that type of thing. So, and we purposely don't let anybody know what the questions are going to be beforehand. It is
I
done
was
that
just
way
going to
on
call you
purpose.
out on that. I'm going
Yeah.
into this cold. Yes.
I don't, I like to see the unprepped answers, the real answers, right?
Okay. Okay.
I will also let you know that we are recording this for future purposes. However, please feel free to speak about whatever you want to speak about. There are no restrictions on these calls. Okay. So, first question: looking back at your first year in real estate, what did you spend time on that didn't actually move your business forward, and what should you have been focused on instead?
Ooh, good question. And it's been so long, I don't know that I fully remember. I mean, it's been 30 plus years. So, um, I don't know that I spent a lot of time cold calling. Um, Again, this is a very different market, very different industry at the time. So we didn't have all the tech tools that are available now and all the resources. Um, so while I don't know that that would be the approach I would use now, it was very informative. I learned a lot from doing it. Um, yeah, I spent a lot of time doing cold calls. Um, did a lot of open houses. I wasn't prepared to do an open house well. So if you're not going to do an open house well, I don't know that I would have done as many of those because I wasn't doing all the steps and the activities to have the success from them that you can have if you do it the right way. Yeah, I think that's the best I got trying to jog a memory from, 35 years ago. Oh, you're muted, Mike. There you go.
Yeah, I don't know. I got a phone call and it hijacked my ear pods, so I apologize.
Yeah.
All right. Second question. What was the exact moment or decision that shifted you from trying to make it to building consistent momentum? Do you remember a specific instance from early on in your career where something just kind of clicked and you were like, you know what, this is what I need to be doing?
There wasn't a shift. When I went into this, I needed to do this, and I needed to be successful. I was a young, broke, single mom. And so this was all in from the get-go. And I was fortunate that I had tremendous mentors from the beginning that I leaned on and I listened to. And they were lifelong. This was their career, their passion. And so there was never a half in. They were very much of the mindset if you're going to do this, you have to go all in. Um, and coming from a background where I was always involved in a team sport of some sort, listening to coaches um, was intuitive for me. And taking their advice was intuitive. I would say for those of you that are on the call that are new, um, your coaches, your trainers, your brokers, the leadership team, when they give you advice, like they've already run into the wall. Learn the lesson that they've already learned, like take advantage of that. They're not pontificating, just to hear themselves talk. They're actually sharing experiences, and I would use that to your advantage. I was fortunate that I had that, and I instinctively listened, which I'm a bit of I like doing things my own way, but I also know that the value of a good coach, and I believe in coaching and training. I always say, like, Michael Jordan had Phil Jackson and listened to him. So your top pro athletes have coaches and trainers. Don't ever minimize that advice. So, but yeah, I was all in from the beginning. There wasn't a shift for me. Sorry,
Nice.
not the answer you're probably hoping for, but I was always all in.
No, that resonates. We have a few people in the group that I think really started experiencing the real success from their career once they kind of burned the boats, if you will. It's just
Mhm.
it's this is the only option. We're going to make this work. So that
I
resonates
will,
very much.
I will add from the years of managing that there's a reality that I understand of needing to pay the mortgage or pay the rent and making a
Mhm.
car payment. And sometimes there has to be a transition, and I understand that. But just know that it's going to be painful. You're going to have what I would say, what I tell most agents that are making that transition is you're going to know it's time to make the transition because you're going to be overloaded. And you're going to be making judgment calls on what needs to give. And that's when you know you've lined your pipeline enough that you can make that transition. But at some point, you need to make the transition. Your clients are going to notice, you're going to notice, something will suffer. Unfortunately, it tends to be your family and your loved ones. And there's no point doing all of this if they're the ones that are suffering for it. But yeah, there will be a pain point when you're trying to make that transition. And I don't ever minimize people that are needing that income to make the segue. That's a reality.
Mhm.
And just plan accordingly. Like you're going to have to find a different time to grocery shop or a different time to carve out with your family so that you can be available to your clients and make them feel that they're still the priority that they are.
That's gold. Thank you. Um, Question number three. If you had to start over today, and I'm talking no database, no sphere, no branding, just you started over today, which is ironic because your post that you're officially part of us just posted today. So
Yes.
congratulations, welcome. But
Thank
if
you.
you had to start over today with absolutely nothing, you're just starting from scratch, what would your first 30 days look like?
Oh, very busy. I would lean into every training. I mean, first up, I'd lean into every training opportunity. I would get into every opportunity to shadow another agent who's successful in different agents, not just one, because what is successful for, Terry is going to be very different than what's successful for Justin. Like everyone has their own personality and their own approach. So I'm going to shadow and find out what they do and what they're finding successful. And then I'm going to put as many lines in the water to find out which one I fish best with. So
Hmm.
whether that is open houses, whether that is social media, whether that is, paying for leads, which I don't have a problem with. Some people do. I'm going to develop those relationships, whether it's, networking events. Like I found out very early, networking events aren't for me. They work for a lot of different people, but they don't work for me. I'm socially awkward. I get very uncomfortable in social events. And so but I tried it. Like I tried everything that other people recommended, and I gave it 6 to 8 months before I made a determination. And then I'm going, okay, this isn't a wheelhouse for me. The ROI isn't working for me. Therefore, I can say I truly gave this a shot. And that's not what my wheelhouse is. But as you're new, volunteer to do open houses for other agents, but do them the right way so that you're going to get the opportunities. So if there's somebody saying, "Hey, I need open house coverage," jump on it. Pop buys were not my shtick, but I have agents that are very successful with them, and it's a way to get out in the community and walk the neighborhood and get to know people. But give everything a legitimate shot. And so I would do that. I would walk the walk and try those different things. I would do social video, even though, again, I'm socially awkward. I would do the videos and see what worked for me.
Beautiful. All right.
Yep.
Um, this is my personal favorite question. What
Uh-oh.
is the one hard truth about this business that new agents don't want to hear but absolutely need to understand?
You have to work for it.
Mm.
Like, I mean, you
Yeah.
have to work for it. Forgive me. I know this is being recorded, but this is who I am. I curse. I don't curse at people, but I curse. So I refer to it as the shit they show on HGTV. It's not real. So when I teach pre-licensing, like, you have to work at it. And yes, you get flexible hours. My saying is the first 2 years, pick any 60 to 80 hours of the week. By the way, it has to include weekends and evenings, to get going.
Mhm.
That's just, you have to work at it. You have to treat it like a business. This isn't something that's just going to organically happen. And if it does for you, God bless you. You're the anomaly. But you have to follow up, you have to show up, and it's not going to be handed to you. I wish I could give you a blueprint, but again, what's going to work for Mike and Brittany is going to be different than what works for you. You're going to have to try it and find out what works, but you have to work at it. It's not complicated work, but it's work and it's time.
Mhm. It's not necessarily a hard job, but it requires a high level of consistent effort.
Yes, yes.
Mhm.
And consistency will trump, again, I believe in motivation. I believe we need to have a why, but I promise you, your consistent effort, that discipline will trump motivation every single day of the week and twice on
Mhm.
Tuesday. If you are disciplined, it will carry you through that roller coaster that you start your career with.
Awesome.
I love
All
that
right.
question, by the way. That's my soapbox when anybody gets into the business.
You have to actually work. Yeah.
Yeah, yes, yeah. Got to put the time in. Yeah. I say
Um,
treat your first 2 years like an unpaid internship.
mm, yeah.
Yeah.
What non-negotiables do you follow today that directly protect your mental health in this career field?
Great question. And they touched on it yesterday at the sales meeting. Very early on in not my real estate career, but my husband got into the business very shortly after we got married. And we had some challenges navigating both of us being in the business. So we have a hard and fast rule that we honor to this day. I take no calls Sunday before noon, period, end of story. No calls Sunday before noon. And I've never had a client have an issue with it. I've managed 5 offices. And I've told, like, if the office is on fire, don't call me. And the leadership was like, "What do you mean?" I'm like, "Wait, what am I going to do? I'm not a firefighter. Call 911." But no calls Sunday before noon is my protected time. Um, I went through a period of time where I had 2 different cell phones so that I could have some protected time when we went on vacation.
Mm.
Technology has evolved. I don't need to do that. We have focus time, but Sundays before noon, I take no phone calls. So I would tell everyone, make sure whatever works for you, make sure you dedicate time. Fill your calendar with your commitments to your family first, and tell your clients I have an appointment, Sunday at 6. They don't need to know that it's your grandson's soccer game. I have an appointment at 6, but I have these 2 other times available. It's no different than talking to a toddler. You give them 2 different outfit choices. Treat your clients the same way. I always ask somebody, do you have a preference or a day or time of day?
Mm.
Because that will then gear me to what, then I can say, okay, you have a preference on Thursdays. Here's what I have available. Or you want mornings. Okay, I've got this available. So it's about asking the question so that they still have some input and I'm going to adapt to them. But I'm going to ask the question, I'm like, what works for best for you? No, no, no. Do you have a preference for a day or time of day?
I like that. Awesome. Well, that is our unannounced gauntlet. Thank you for
Okay.
participating.
I think
Appreciate
I
that.
survived. I think I
Yeah.
survived. I hope there was some helpful in there, but
But yeah, excellent. So I'd like to just at this point in time turn it over to you. If you don't mind just kind of introducing yourself, kind of letting us know your background, and then explaining what a transaction coordinator is. In this program, we kind of discourage very strongly that the mentees use the transaction coordinator,
mhm.
just because we want them to learn how the minutia of the contracting and make sure that they're learning what they need to do. But after they graduate, we highly recommend that they do use a TC to be able to help fuel their business, make it more efficient. I personally would not be able to do everything that I have to do professionally in the course of a week if I didn't have a TC being able to back me up. And a lot of times, really kind of helping me get client relations and things of that nature handled. Nathan Safor was the TC before Trina came on board. Nathan did a great job. I personally use Trina. I have nothing but great things to say about Trina. I think that her OCD matches my OCD, which is why we get along so well. Because every time
Yes.
I'm chasing down that little detail, she's already chasing it down herself. So, but yeah, I'm gonna pass it off to you, Trina. Thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you. A little bit about myself. Again, this is my awkward social aspect. So I've been in the business, I think it's 36 years now. Out in the field selling as well, before I got into management. And I found that paperwork and the structure and systems were more my wheelhouse. And I love helping other people. So if I can help you shine as an agent, that's where I get my joy. So that translated into both the TC world as well as management. But I was the TC for a very large team as far as production. There was only 5 agents, but we closed on average over 400 units a year. That was out in Arizona. So TC's where, I built a bit of my career, and then I went into management and managed 5 offices, stepped away from that in the last year and wanted to focus back on doing the TC work. But as far as, my background, I'm on the board at GHAR. I'm a district board member for PAR, served on grievance committee, professional standards. Get involved in your local association. It'll create relationships for you that will help deals go together. That's a sidebar. But 30 some years in the business, 10 of, or a little over 10 of those I spent in Arizona with the team. My son decided to start a family, and I realized I did not want to be a grandparent from across the country. So that's why we moved back. And we've been back in Pennsylvania for about a decade and a half now. And we're now with Iron Valley. So we're very happy to be here. I'm part of the culture here and the support. As far as what a TC does, it's transaction coordinator. It is contract to close. You'll hear those two phrases interchanged quite a bit. But once you put a deal together and have it fully executed, there's where a transaction coordinator who does contract to close, and that's what my services focus on, contract to close, are going to be a partner with you to see that through smoothly to closing. So just some, bullet items about what a transaction coordinator does with our services when you put a deal together is we're going to put the deal into SkySlope. If you haven't already done that, some of our offices that are not part of Titan 4, but our DCP offices already use SkySlope. But I'm going to follow up, make sure everything is in there. If it's not already, I upload everything to it. I'm going to do intros to all parties, make sure the lender has a copy of the agreement of sale, make sure title's been ordered. Chase down those details. If there's a lead-based paint form that's missing an initial or a signature, I chase that down. Make sure the lender has those things that are needed. So throughout the process, I'm a safety net for you, but I'm also taking things off your plate to chase down those details, those paperwork items. I put reminders on your calendar so that you know, hey, today the BRI is due, and I will even draft it if you need. And again, just making sure it gets out to all the parties and it's getting buttoned up properly, scheduling closing. But I'm also there to help support and navigate if there's a challenge. There are sometimes where there's transactions that can get a little off the rails, and I can help get it back on the rails. I can help if you're on the road and you need something, handled, you just reach out to me or just forward the email to me. I'm going to take care of it for you. The goal is to provide leverage for you, like you're best when you're in front of clients. You're a people person. That's what you need to be doing to generate more business. And so my goal is to make sure that I'm taking the paperwork off your plate, the not dollar productive activities off your plate, so that you can work on the dollar productive activities, which is getting in front of more clients and generating more business, or quite honestly, reaping the rewards of getting in front of more clients and going to the movies with your wife or your spouse or your significant other while I'm doing some paperwork things, because there are only so many hours in the day. And the reality is, a transaction coordinator, if you're wanting to grow your business into a certain volume, you only have so many hours in the day. And if you want to go to the next level, this is one of the ways, like your top producing agents across the country have a support system in place. They're not doing it all themselves. And if they are, something else is suffering and they're still not taking it to the next level. So that's the goal, is to provide that support for you. I'm going to schedule closings. I'm going to make sure the settlement notices go out. I'm a second set of eyes on your final HUD or your preliminary HUD to make sure it's accurate. It is still ultimately your responsibility. It's your paycheck, your client's paycheck, but I'm a second set of eyes to catch, hey, they missed your broker fee. Hey, they didn't get the transfer tax correct. And, so just again, a safety net for you, but also a resource to free up dollar productive time for you. Does that cover it, Mike?
Yes, ma'am. Thank
Okay.
you.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's exactly what I was looking for. So again, I appreciate that. I just want to kind of get into a little bit more of like the minutia of it. So
Okay.
you described a lot of what you can do for us, which you have done for me. But getting into, I know we had talked about an example yesterday, and again, not to name names or anything, but
Nope.
you had an example yesterday that you were going to bring up on this call. I think that's very important information because that type of interaction is a lot more common than I think a lot of these newer agents might think. So if you don't
Sure.
mind giving that story, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Absolutely. This is a seasoned agent with a team, and the agent was running the transaction through me. And these are the type of things that it's not just about me being a transaction coordinator and checking off boxes on the list. And I mean, a lot of the job is that, but it's also a resource where my years of experience can be a benefit if you lean into it. And this is an agent, and many agents who use me still, I'm a control freak myself, and this agent does a lot of things herself, and she takes that initiative. In this scenario, she represented the buyer, and the buyer changed their mind. They'd waived inspections, and they simply changed their mind and terminated the contract. $5,000 earnest money deposit. The agent, rather than letting me do my role as far as sending out the terminations and having her actually even reach out to go, hey, this is where we're at, this is where we're, what client's doing, she issued the termination. Termination was already fully signed. They were hopeful that the seller would not fight the release of the earnest money. They were hopeful that if they just rode the time out, that the seller wouldn't fight for the money. The seller did. So our buyer lost $5,000. Here's the lesson. When she sent me a copy of the termination, I called her immediately and going like, oh, has this already been issued? And her answer was yes. And I said, that's unfortunate. Had you reached out to me, this was a property that was in an HOA. We had not received the resale cert yet. So for those of you that are newer, the HOA resale cert is required, and the buyer has a right to terminate for any reason on the resale cert. It is a get out of jail free card for your buyer. So had the agent just reached out, and again, we all can make this mistake, but this is where leveraging your resources, whether it's Mike, Brittany, Christy, Terry, or your TC, but in this case, had she allowed me to be involved a little bit more in my role, we would have not only, we would have saved the buyer $5,000. We would have waited and terminated over the resale cert. And there would have been like, there's nothing that the seller can question on that. Doesn't mean they're going to sign off on it, but we had a right to terminate over that and protect our buyer's earnest money. And that opportunity was gone. There was nothing I could do once it was already signed. So those are the type of scenarios that I can help with, I can protect you on. There's times where I'm on the phone with a buyer agent, even though I remind them that, hey, you've got a home inspection that's due today, your BRI is due today, or your seller has to do the response today. There's times where I know there's a back and forth and we've got the final 2 days where I'm on the phone to the agent at 10 o'clock going, hey, like, you didn't get a response back from the other side and you've got a laundry list of repairs. Is your buyer okay with this? If not, we got to terminate to protect the earnest money. I'm just trying to protect you and your client rather than trying to make those apology calls afterwards. Does that make sense? Is there any questions on that scenario? Did everybody follow? I'm seeing some head nods. Thank you,
Yeah.
Austin.
I think we have a couple people driving right now that are
Yeah.
tuning in just over here. So, or a couple people that actually do kind of jump in here to get while they're at work.
I was going to age
But
myself and go Bueller, make sure I had a response, but not everybody gets that reference.
yeah, that's these phone calls are shattering for my soul sometimes
There
because
we
I'll
go.
make a joke and everybody, half the people are just staring at me in the camera and like, oh no.
Crickets. Yeah,
So
yeah.
No, we get that one because that was Danielle Weeks' catchphrase. When she used to join us all the time, she'd say that all the time.
There we go.
yeah, no, it's the TC is more than just somebody. I mean, don't get me wrong. I have worked with TCs in the past that all they did was move paperwork from dot loop to sky slope. And I'm like, what is happening? Like, there's not really much of an effort or energy there. But with someone like Trina, it's not just an admin jockey, I guess I will refer to it. It's somebody who is there as a whole nother resource to help guide you. So as you're going through the process, um, right now you have a mentor that you can ask questions to. And it's not like that mentor is going to disappear once your agreement's over, but you also want to start networking yourself out, kind of very similar to what Trina said in the beginning of the conversation, where you want to have multiple people that you follow, multiple people that you can ask questions to, that you trust their judgment. And having someone like Trina come in and be a TC for your file with 30 years of real estate experience, that's, as we just heard in that story, that could have saved that person's clients thousands of dollars had they just bounced that idea or had a conversation with somebody before they kind of just charged ahead. I love confidence, and I think it's a very important part of this job. But the difference between confidence and arrogance is experience. I don't know if anybody's ever heard that before. And when you are confident, it means you are also knowledgeable. You're practicing wisdom. And if you don't have experience, start asking questions. Ask the people that are in your circle what they would do in that situation, because that is something that, as Trina was telling the story, I'm sitting there going, oh, yeah, she's right. That would have saved thousands of dollars right there. But that wasn't an idea that immediately popped into the back of my head. Right. So we all know that there's people in this industry that will like to use the tag phrase, well, I've been doing this for over 20 years. And usually what precedes that, or what follows that sentence, is a bunch of horseshit that's wrong. But somebody that is actively involved in, like Trina's actively involved in a real estate career. She has a team with her husband. She is actively, I couldn't even imagine how many files you're currently trying to monitor at one time, right? So as far as someone in this industry who is going to see everything, all the bullshit, all the forest fires, everything, the TC is going to be the person that probably outside of your broker team has the most amount of experience about putting out fires. So it's not just about having somebody make sure that you've dotted all your I's and crossed all your T's. It's also about having a resource that you can actually go and ask questions to. How would you recommend that I process this? How would you recommend that I move forward? I'm not saying you have to do what that person says, but at least you have a respected person that is able to give you that advice to be able to, help your client, which in this case would have saved that person's client thousands of dollars. So I know I keep saying that, but go ahead.
Yeah, there's a reality to it. And if I can jump in, I have two different examples. And there's a reality that a lot of the files are just paperwork jockey. Like if it's a smooth deal, it can be just a paperwork aspect. The problem is we don't know that there's going to be a problem until there is one. You get into the file and you think it's going to go smooth. And then at the 11th hour, you got a final walkthrough and there's an issue. And you've got another closing you need to get to. You need somebody to jump in and help navigate that. But yeah, there's going to be times where it is, wow, I just paid $350, and I don't minimize the investment that you're making. I respect that. And I want to make sure I'm adding value to your plate. But there's going to be times where you're like, I just did the paperwork. But the reality is I also freed you up for time to get more business. But I mean, the $5,000 example was within the last 2 months. I mean, that's been since I started working with Iron Valley. The one I had this past week, again, very, very seasoned agent, and a very seasoned agent on the other side. The other side was a list agent. And there was a discrepancy on what the actual contract date was, what the acceptance date was. There was an initial, a minor initial, that changed the acceptance date by 1 day. And that affected, because this one had inspections, there's a lot of contingencies. It would have it affected our timelines. And there was a TC on the other side, on the list side, and the list agent and the list TC were saying, no, we're sticking, I'm going to use the dates August 4th. And I'm like, no, there was an initial on the contract. It's August 5th. And they said, we ran it by our broker and we're sticking by August 4th. And I'm like, well, that's not actually accurate. But what I did is I reached out to the agent on our side and going, how do you want me to handle this? Because it does impact you and your client and your time frames, but I don't want to create unnecessary friction. Like I want this to be a smooth transaction. And when you're dealing with two very seasoned agent, sometimes egos can come into play. And I don't want to create an issue if there isn't going to be one. But our agent did agree that we needed to make an issue with it. Here's where I will sometimes lean on my other experience. But, I was able to call the broker because of my previous roles of being in management. I called the broker and then had said, hey, and he's like, oh, well, they didn't tell me this. And I'm like, well, that's what I thought. Then I called Justin, and then I had Justin do a broker to broker call. So I'm going to navigate that so that it has the best possible outcome for you and your client using my leveraged relationships to help. But yeah, everybody agreed at the end. August 5th was the correct date. The other side was incorrect in their assumption, in their posture, but we made sure that we navigated it so that it didn't have any friction. But what I wanted to comment on Mike's comment about the difference between, I think you said, confidence and arrogance is experience. Your most experienced agents, your agents that have that confidence, they'll ask questions. I have been doing, like, the longer I've done this, the more I realize I don't know, the more I reach out to get support. The people that say I know are the ones that scare me. Because the one thing I've learned is, Justin said at the meeting yesterday, just because you're right doesn't mean you're going to win. I've been in front of too many mediations where people technically were right, but it still didn't go in their favor. And the more you do that, the more you realize the reality of that. And I've learned that lesson the hard way. I was young, full of piss and vinegar, and I was right. And then I got in front of a magistrate, and the magistrate said, well, these contracts are just guidelines, aren't they? I'm like, yeah, no, they're not. But anyway, I digress.
If anyone, I don't know if anyone's ever heard Justin say it, but just because you're right doesn't mean you win. We also you have to prove that you're right. So that's another great, just with that conversation that was had yesterday with Justin as well. You have to be able to produce the proof as to why you operated the way that you did and be able to provide all that. Having someone, if you're not strong administratively, having someone like a TC there, making sure that your files are all dressed and everything is being done the right way. God forbid that you ever do have an investigation. Now you know that everything is in play and you had an extra set of eyes on it during the transaction to be able to help you, right? I do want to make a shameless plug for you though, Trina, before we kind of wrap everything up and start going for questions. Transaction coordinator, same premise as a lender, same premise as a settlement agent. There are plenty of them out there. It's finding the good ones, the great ones, the ones that are actually going to work for you. I can tell you right now that I have nothing but great things and accolades to say about Trina since she took over the process. I'm not going to lie, in the beginning, I love Nathan. Nathan was my own personal Jesus. I've said that frequently. And they're like, yeah, well, we have these new people coming in. And I'm like, great, awesome. Oh, it's awesome. From the very first phone call, the very first email, Trina has been just expert professionalism and has honestly kind of been there like, hey, Mike, it's okay. You can release and I will take care of it from here. Like, we don't have to do double work. So,
she had to
and
do
the other
that to me
aspect,
too, Mike.
yeah. There's a few of us that are like, you can have my transaction when you pry it from my cold dead hand. Like, yeah, it's kind of how it gets. But I will tell you, everybody in this group knows that I am OCD. Everybody in this group knows that I want to have control over everything. It took me a little bit, but I have given complete control of my files over to Trina once we go under contract. It does not mean that I am not involved with the process, but Trina has my level of trust to be able to work my file the way I would work my file and take care of my client. So there's never been a point in time. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't want to put your personal business out there, but you and your husband had to leave town for a personal issue. And like, I felt like I was like, Trina, you go deal with your thing. We can, like, we're okay. We don't need to have, like, this is okay. And she was still, while she's in the car driving, taking care of stuff and getting things done. So she's somebody that will work hard for you. So I just wanted to throw that out there, my personal experience.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And I get that I really respect that this is an investment that you're making. I don't spend people's money lightly. So when I say, let me help you with that, you've invested, like once you give me a file, like you've invested the money. I want to actually earn that trust and I want that value to be there for you. But I also understand some of you want to do some of those things and okay, that's your decision, but I want to be there as a resource. I want this to be a value add for you. And so I'm always going to just remind that I'm here available. I will also say that I'm human. If I make a mistake, what you'll find is that I will own it. Every so often I have a typo. Every so often, those things happen. I will own that and take responsibility. I will never let that be something that you have to address. But I do value your time and your clients. I want to make sure I'm providing that value so that you can do more business. I mean, at the end of the day, I want you to be able to live and love the life of your dreams, and how I can help you do that is what my goal is.
Excellent. Does anybody have any questions? Anyone at home want to text anything in?
Thank you, Susan.
It's all caps, so you know it's a real compliment.
Yes. Love it.
All right.
Austin looks like he has a question.
What's up, Austin?
Hey, so I know we spent time talking about like what you can do for us and how you make things easier for us. I guess my question would be, in a business relationship standpoint, what can we do to make your job easier? What can we do for you on the other side of things and kind of share that workload, I guess you could say.
Love the question. And that also tells me how you approach your clients, because that's always something I ask people as well. Like, what can I do for you? So love the question. It's not so much about what you can do for me, but it is like a lot of the files don't have phone numbers. So whether you put your phone number in .loop or in like, so not everybody uses .loop, but if you have a file in .loop, if there's a phone number in there that skips a step if I need to reach out to the client. I don't do that often. That's like I try to leave all the client facing thing to the agent because you have the relationship. But if I need to, like I order HOA docs. And so I need information from the clients to order HOA docs for you. The biggest thing that's happening right now, and it's just because the market is shifting, and give it another 6 months because I'm on the I sit on the PAR forms. And so with the changes happening with PAR forms, it'll be easier when the new agreement of sale comes out beginning next year. But let's say you have a BAC at 3% and the agreement of sale, 3A on the RSR, or the ASR says 2.5. I don't know if you're collecting that additional 0.5%. And so those types, just lately it's been the commission issue of going, I need to make sure that the title company has your correct commission. And so if you send me a new file, and all you have to do for a new file is if it's .loop, you send me an email, hey, Trina, I got a new one, 123 Main Street, it's in .loop. I'm off and running. That's what I need. If you're not in .loop, then I need a copy of the contract, or if you've already uploaded it to SkySlope, let me know it's in SkySlope. But I just need access to the information. I have access to your SkySlope. I have access to .loop. I have admin level access. You don't need to send me anything. You don't need to add me to the team. I just need to know you got a new deal. But it's the commission. If you are, if you're aware who the title company is, like I spend my first 45 minutes of a file sometimes chasing down data. Who's the title company? What's the commissions? And I'm fine doing that, but I try to get my intros out very quickly. I like to schedule those for 8:30 in the morning. And if I can avoid chasing down, but I also want to make sure you're getting paid the correct amount. So that's the thing. Since the NAR settlement, I've been chasing down what your fee is. So
as much communication as possible in the front end.
Yeah. Just
Okay.
those little details. I want to make sure you're getting paid. So I have dreams of creating a form to have you complete, but I also don't want you to have to do extra work. So like my job is to not give you another form. But this will all be much better after the new agreement of sale comes out. But
Which,
any
if
other
anybody's not
questions?
tracking that, we will have training. Don't worry.
Yeah.
So, any other questions? All right. Trina, how much do your services cost per transaction?
$350.
Okay.
And it's billed through the company, so it's taken out of your commission at closing. And if the deal falls apart, there's no charge. So you don't get paid, I don't get paid.
Awesome. All right. Well, if we have no other questions, I'll give everybody like 5 seconds of a dramatic pause before we stop the recording. All right. Trina, thank you